You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't F with the Original. I am Dimitri, Editor-in-Chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic.
And I'm Nicholas. I do a video games review for Idiomatic.
First, we'd like to start with an apology. We announced last month that we do a review of Scream 4. Unfortunately, as you might have noticed, we never got around to posting it. Dennis, Nick, and I actually did record one. Unfortunately, the file got corrupted, which is why we weren't able to post that.
Alright.
Now, we thought of re-recording the review, but by then it was already too late. The summer blockbuster season had pretty much already started with Thor and Fast 5. Besides which, we already have a written review on the website. So we just figured best to just move on.
Yeah.
Having said that, I was able to salvage the second half of the review, and in particular, a long digression about one of our favorite lines in Scream 4, which is, spoiler alert,
don't fuck with the original.
That's right. We argued about the meaning and implications of that line for almost half an hour, and...
by we you mean Dennis.
Yes, actually. Anyway, it's actually kind of convenient, in a way, because it leads to our big theme for Don't F with the Original, where we're going to discuss reboots and remakes and review a couple of movies being remade, like Arthur, The Thing, a whole bunch of movies. But for now, as a prelude to Don't F with the Original, here's Nick, Dennis, and I arguing about the most important rule of doing a remake. And be warned, due to the subject of the conversation, there is quite a bit of cussing, and I couldn't really edit it out. Sorry about that.
My favorite line, for me, is when Sydney kind of reminded us, like, you forgot the first rule of a remake. Don't fuck with the original, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, that line, like, right when that line hit, okay, obviously, like I said, there's so many layers, but when that line hit for me, I felt so good, and I'm like, I hope Rob Zombie and all these guys that remake all these movies see that and hear that, because... For me, there's so many remakes, and they're all like, most of them are shit.
Yeah, but how do they fuck with the original, in fairness? Like, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Sorry?
I'm going to play devil's advocate. How does Rob Zombie fuck with the original?
How does he fuck? By trying to reinvent it. By starting at Halloween, like, 1.0, where, I'm Halloween, like, whatever you saw, now this is how he is. This is how I make it. Like, he remade it, basically, and he fucked...
If you're gonna remake a movie, chances are you're gonna have to remake it. Like if you're gonna have a rule that says, if you're gonna have to remake, you can't fuck with the original. What consists fucking with the original?
By remaking it.
That doesn't really make sense to me.
Alright.
I
don't know.
Oh, hold on.
I'm guessing if the original has, a certain point, and then you remake it and you go over that point completely, that's... I guess, one way of fucking with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also kind of don't see that way, because you can still just watch the original and say, fuck the remake. So...
You know what the problem, though, is?
Attitude towards it.
Yeah.
The thing, though, is that why remake it? What was wrong with the first Halloween? Nothing.
It's not a question of it being wrong. It's a question of cashing on the name, really. That's the only reason why you make a remake.
Here's the problem. Every movie... Like they mentioned in this one, like look at all the horror movies that they remade, okay? Every movie was remade. So now when I tell you, oh Dimitri, you like Halloween, yeah? I have to tell you which one. Which Halloween did you like? 1978? Or you know what I mean? Like,
John Carpenter or Rob Zombie is the more common way to go, but
yeah, but you know what I mean, right? Like, it's like now, like, every movie has a remake. I mean, not only in the horror genre, right? They're remaking everything. So in the end, I'll say, oh yeah, The Wizard of Oz was such a great movie. Well, sorry, I have to mention the original, it's ridiculous. It's freaking ridiculous.
So what I'm saying is that your anger towards remake comes from a rhetorical point of view, where you feel that your rhetoric is slowed down by having to specify the date of the movie.
it's not just that. No, it's not just specify, but it's like, sometimes you shouldn't fuck with the original because the original is the original. I mean,
But
if it's on so many sequels, it's because it was perfect in its own right.
Yeah, but
Who are you to repolish it or change it or whatever?
But here's my thing about it, okay? You talk about Halloween, and that's a great example, and it's awesome that we're discussing this instead of the movie, because that's actually a more fun conversation. But, like, here's my thing about Halloween, okay? I agree with you, the first Halloween remake, Rob Zombie's Halloween remake, not so great. I don't think it was awful, but generally speaking, it's a bad movie. Halloween 2, though, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is miles ahead of any single one of the sequels from Halloween, the original series.
That's fine. It's not the original.
Halloween 2 wouldn't exist if the remake of Halloween didn't happen.
That's very debatable. You could just continue with Halloween 8 or 9 or whatever.
Halloween 8 or 9? Really? Because where do you go with Michael Myers after he raped his niece to give birth to the child of Satan? Like,
here's a better idea.
Forward after that.
Here's a better idea. Just make another movie altogether. Don't make a remake.
But Halloween 2 is a good movie. I'm happy it was made. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is a good movie. The original Halloween 2 can F itself.
Okay, but at what cost? I mean, look at all the other movies. Look at Black Christmas. Look at I don't know, any of them.
Yeah, but look at the cost of just John Carpenter making Halloween. We had to sit through all the other sequels, including Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. I would have rather not have wasted 4 hours of my life on both these movies.
Okay, but still, it's like at one point, okay, either you let it die or you make something new. People now they're just reinventing everything. It's like, oh, I don't know, instead of making a new original thing, I'm going to remake Alice in Wonderland. Ooh. It's like, okay. Well.
First of all, I don't mind remaking Alice in Wonderland. I just mind anybody making Alice in Wonderland in the first place. It's a children's book that's super episodic and like slightly psychedelic. It does not make a good movie.
Yeah, but where I'm going with this is that they're remaking literally everything. It won't surprise me if they remake The Terminator or if they remake Rocky, for crying out loud. They'll remake anything at this point.
What's your favorite superhero movie?
Me?
Yeah.
It's a good question. For me, at this point, I used to like Spider-Man, but my favorite movie itself is The Dark Knight. Really?
Because that's just a freaking remake of Batman, isn't it?
How is it?
1989 Batman. He faced
Batman
the Joker.
Begins is the
franchise. Suddenly, Batman is facing the Joker again. It's a remake. I'm like, fuck that piece of shit. Fuck The Dark Knight. Look at all the shit we had to watch just for the fucking Dark Knight. The hell with that fuck.
Oh, here's the thing. Okay, for Batman, because it's definitely a special. That's a special case. Mm-hmm. Okay, the original Batmans. Okay, all of them they sucked. Okay, so.
I love Batman Returns.
Oh God, good God, none of them. No, none of them. For me,
Batman and Robin, classic.
Oh yeah. I could really tell you're serious now.
1966 Batman with Batman.
Oh yeah, you definitely
the best.
Yeah,
that's the best.
Bat shark repellent forever.
You know what? That's still my face palm joke is that one on the surfboard. But for me, that's the problem. It's just like there's too many remakes, and you know what? A lot of them have even the balls to just call themselves exactly the same title as the original. So.
Well, that's a remake. How can you make a remake without calling yourself exactly the same title?
Well, one of them is Batman, one of them is Batman Begins. It's not exactly the same, is it?
Right, but generally speaking, most, if not almost all, remakes of the same title as the original.
Well, I think the thing with remakes is that you could have better, new original ideas. If you don't like, say somebody, for example, okay, somebody crazy out there doesn't like the Scream franchise. Here's like Scream 4, it's a remake of the first one, He's not going to be interested in that because, he's seen the first one and you're like, eh. So if they're remaking movies you don't like, or if they're remaking movies that are just, dumb action and they're just trying to remake bigger booms and stuff like that, it's not super interesting. New and interesting concepts are better.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, the remakes that are successful are the ones who take the idea and go in a different place. But isn't that exactly what you hate about remakes, then, is when you say, don't fuck with the original? And that's why I'm kind of curious, because for me, I mean, as much as I like that line, and that line's freaking hilarious, strictly speaking, the first rule of a remake really is fuck with the original, please.
Well, for me, it's like respect the original, and I don't know. For me, like I said, the problem, you know where it is that because maybe we've seen the original Halloween, the original Black Christmas, and all these movies, Prom Night, and all that.
Yeah.
But don't forget that the new generation, the new kids, what are they gonna see? What are they gonna hear? They're gonna hear the 2006 Black Christmas or the 2008 Halloween. Like they're gonna see this stuff, and they're gonna like, it's almost like how should I say it? Like, it's a different era. They might not even see all those movies. It's for them. This is what they're gonna refer to.
But that doesn't reflect the market, though. I mean, that's a common opinion that people are very afraid of, is that, well, people are only going to see the remake, they're not going to see the original. But that's actually not true. What happens when a remake comes out, video sales for the original skyrocket, because people go, oh, it's a remake? Oh, I should check out the original to compare. Oh, they bothered to make a remake of it? The original must be pretty good.
All right.
So whenever they make a remake, actually it brings attention back to a long-forgotten classic.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see sometimes, like you said, they do bring back, when they release something, but I don't know. For me, I don't know. A lot of times the remakes are not needed. That's the way I see it. They're not better movies, and they're not. They don't bring anything. They don't bring anything new. They don't bring anything refreshing. Sometimes I will say that, let's say like Star Trek would be a good example where they remade it. They went a completely different way than, let's say, the motion picture.
Yeah, they really fucked with it.
And I guess, it's enjoyable and all that, but I mean, if they make like another two of them and they remake again another Origin one, it's just, for me, it's like, look, you know what? You try and not reinvent the wheel. Try and continue the wheel, polish it, make it better, and don't try and reinvent it. Just continue.
But
make a better sequel.
But the act of a remake is to try to reinvent it.
Well, I don't know. For example, they're remaking Highlander.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
All of a sudden, Highlander is about who gathers the most bunnies, and he lives with the most bunnies. Is he's happy forever? People are not gonna go see that. You see the preview and like who can get the most bunnies, and you see McCloud gathering bunnies everywhere. You fuck with the original, and people aren't gonna go see that. So that's what Don't fuck with the original if you want to make a remake. Keep with at least certain themes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, I have the same interpretation of the line that you do, because that's why I disagree with you, Dennis. When you said like don't fuck the original, like what are you making it? I didn't interpret that line that way. I interpreted it more the way you did, Nick. Where when they say don't fuck with the original, they mean like you said, Dennis, respect the original.
That's it. Respect it. Respect it. But for me, I took a little bit more than that because most of the remakes are crap. That's why, in my opinion.
I don't agree with that necessarily at all.
Especially in the horror genre.
Most, but not nearly all. Like when I say most, I think 60% of them are pretty crap. But 40% are still actually pretty worthy of my time. But the thing is, to get back to the respect, I think, Nick, the way you said it is perfect. It's respect the themes. And I think that's the basic idea. Respect the spirit of the original material. That's what, for me, means no, don't fuck with the original, is respect the spirit. So if I made,
Friday the 13th?
Yeah, if I made Friday the
Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, sure. Okay, we'll go with Nightmare on Elm Street. You want to name another one, you bastard?
Because I know you love the original, okay? A Nightmare on Elm Street. So now you tell me, okay, that it was justified to make that disgrace of a remake of the original.
First of all,
you tell me how is it better?
Is it justified? Because you're asking two different questions here. So I'm going to answer one at a time. First, is it justified to make it? Yes, because I want to see more Freddy stories, because I think Freddy is a great monster that's worthy of telling different stories with him. And fact of the matter is, after Freddy's dead, the final nightmare is really nowhere you can go with that shit.
What about a new nightmare? You didn't like that?
I absolutely love a new nightmare, but
it's not a sequel after that?
But it's not Freddy. A new nightmare is not about Freddy. It's a different monster.
Okay.
That's taken Freddy's form.
Okay.
Come on, man. Let me finish my thought on this. So that's the question number one. Your question, what justifies making this? That's what justifies it. Because it allows to revive the franchise and get new stories going with that character. Now, can I defend the Nightmare on Elm Street remake they make? No, because it betrayed the spirit of the original, and that's where it gets back to what Nick was saying, and I totally agree with you, Nick, is it's all about respecting the themes and the spirit. The original Nightmare on Elm Street was all about people not facing their problems and living in fantasy. If you live in your dreams, you die. You have to face reality and live life awake. And the remake was all about this sort of very sordid, your parents are going to fuck you over and you're all sexually abused and fuck you all, you're going to die. No, there's no hope. Go hang yourself.
Okay, so in this example, they fucked with the original. You would have to agree, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, now here's the thing though. Now you wanted new stories on Freddy, right? Well, guess what? You're gonna get them now. But you're gonna get them from this new starting point. So unless somebody else comes and says, "Oh shit, really? Okay, well how are they gonna continue this now? This is the new legacy. This is the new story. This is where they're going with it." So if you get new Freddy stories that follow this new remake, how can they be better than whatever sequel existed before that?
Whatever they like. First of all, let's be clear on one thing. As much as I dislike the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, it's better than Freddy's Dead.
Okay,
but that's sort of not what I'm saying. Like, because you're saying their error was in remaking it. I'm saying the error is in disrespecting the themes of the original, and that's why for me that line makes sense as a rule in Scream, where it's like the number one rule: don't fuck with the original means respect the spirit of the original material. But you're saying don't fuck the original means don't remake it. It's weird to me because you're like the first rule of making a remake: don't fucking make it. And it's like what?
Okay, let me rephrase it then, because it's true. I mean, Scream 4 is kind of a remake, but it's not a remake. That's the thing. It's a remake of the original, but there are differences.
It's a sequel.
It's a sequel for me, and this is why for me Scream 4 also works, because they didn't try to be exactly like the original, and they knew that they couldn't even beat the original. You know what I mean? Like, and they respected the original. So, all at the same time commenting on remakes and sequels. So, again, so that one maybe doesn't fit in, but for me it's like, okay, you're right. It's like, okay, sometimes if you remake something, you could make it better. True, but more times than not, by you remaking it, you fuck up the spirit of the original, or you fuck up the original. You don't get what the original tried to tell you as a message, and then you start a new line, which is not, like you're not starting off on the right foot, and you're really messing it up, and people might forget how it was originally because they'll think of this one, more than the other one.
That never happens.
That's my fear.
That never happens. Ever, ever. Because people remember whatever is more pleasant to remember. That's just human nature. So if the original is better than a remake, they remember their original. If the remake's better than the original, they remember the remake. Like, that's what happened with John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a remake of The Thing from Outer Space from the 1950s. You say The Thing, you're talking about John Carpenter's movie. And that's the thing. It's the public always remembers what's good.
That's the thing.
All right. It's reassuring then. How did you like the line about peeping Tom in the movie?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. In our brief history of gore, the podcast we did 2 years ago with Chasm, Dennis and I, we surveyed through the history of the slasher for the second part, because you were arguing Black Christmas first slasher, and I was arguing completely out of my depth. Psycho first slasher, and of course Chasm went like, "You're both idiots, it's peeping Tom," and yes, she was right.
This movie confirmed that she was right. Either that or Kevin listened to your podcast and he's like, let me...
That'd be awesome.
I'm hoping he's the guy who on YouTube posted the comment "gay" on it. I'm
Really?
hoping he's the one. Because, Kevin Williamson is gay, so when he wrote "gay," he actually meant it as a compliment.
He was just happy, yeah.
He was saying he loves our podcast so much he wants to make love to it.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed our unedited digression.
Yeah,
After that, we start Don't Fuck With The Original.
A lot of remakes coming up. Let's see if they get fucked or not.
Exactly. So anyway, if you have any questions, comments you want to share with us, write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment at idiomanic.com, because we can't get better without feedback.
Even with feedback, we don't get that much better.
It's hard to get better with feedback like gay. It's like, I tried sucking cock and it doesn't really made it any better. I sort of had to delete it.
Yeah, it just sounded like...
I know, it's just like, it doesn't make for a great podcast. I mean, I appreciate you giving us your feedback and your suggestions, but sometimes, we tried and it doesn't really work out.
Maybe we should go for constructive feedback.
See you next time.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't F With The Original. I am Dimitri, Editor-in-Chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic.
And I'm Nicholas. I do a video games review for Idiomatic.
First, we'd like to start with an apology. We announced last month that we do a review of Scream 4. Unfortunately, as you might have noticed, we never got around to posting it. Dennis, Nick, and I actually did record one. Unfortunately, the file got corrupted, which is why we weren't able to post that.
All right.
Now, we thought of re-recording the review, but by then it was already too late.
And he fucked. I find
if you're gonna remake a movie, chances are you're gonna have to remake it. Like if you're gonna have a rule that says if you're gonna have to remake, you can't fuck with the original. What consists fucking with the original?
by remaking it.
That doesn't really make sense to me.
All right.
I
don't know.
Oh, hold on.
I'm guessing if the original has, a certain point, and then you remake it and you go over that point completely, that's, I guess, one way of fucking with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also kind of don't see that way because you can still just watch the original and say, fuck the remake. So
That's
what the problem, though, is
attitude towards it.
yeah.
The thing, though, is that why remake it? What was wrong with the first Halloween? Nothing.
Yeah.
And for me, that line, like right when that line hit, okay, obviously, like I said, there's so many layers, but when that line hit for me, I felt so good, and I'm like, I hope Rob Zombie and all these guys that remake all these movies see that and hear that, because for me, there's so many remakes and they're all like, most of them are shit.
Yeah, but how do they fuck with the original? In fairness, like I'm
How do
gonna
they
play
fuck?
devil's advocate.
Sorry?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. How does Rob Zombie fuck with the original?
How does he fuck? By trying to reinvent it, by starting at Halloween, like 1.0, where, I'm Halloween, like whatever you saw, now this is how he is, this is how I make it. Like, he remade it, basically.
Our blockbuster season had pretty much already started with Thor and Fast 5, besides which we already have a written review on the website. So we just figured best to just move on.
Yeah.
Having said that, I was able to salvage the second half of the review, and in particular, a long digression about one of our favorite lines in Scream 4, which is, spoiler alert,
Don't fuck with the original.
that's right. We argued about the meaning and implications of that line for almost half an hour, and...
By we, you mean Dennis.
Yes, actually. Anyway, it's actually kind of convenient, in a way, because it leads to our big theme for Don't F With The Original, where we're going to discuss reboots and remakes and review a couple of movies being remade, like Arthur, The Thing, a whole bunch of movies. But for now, as a prelude to Don't F With The Original, here's Nick, Dennis, and I arguing about the most important rule of doing a remake. And be warned, due to the subject of the conversation, there is quite a bit of cussing, and I couldn't really edit it out. Sorry about that.
My favorite line, for me, is when Sydney kind of reminded us, like, you forgot the first rule of a remake. Don't fuck with the original.